Hey everyone, it's Paul with your Tuesday Bull Profits. So big news today coming out from Tesla. I'm sure if you're following our YouTube channel, which reminds me, please follow us, subscribe to us, and give us a thumbs up if you enjoy our videos. You would have seen my amazing colleague Amber speaking to also my phenomenal colleague Patrick about Tesla and Bitcoin. So you all know the big news, which is that Tesla, the company, has gone and purchased $1.5 billion, $1.5 billion with a B of Bitcoin. So today's Bull Profits Daily, I want to talk about Bitcoin. I want to talk about what I believe is going on, what I believe is going to unfold, and recap on some of the predictions that I've laid out. So what is going on with Bitcoin? Why is Bitcoin now at $40,000? I saw a tweet today from someone that if you went back to last year's Super Bowl, so last year this time, Bitcoin's price was $9,300. So it has gone 4x, a little bit more than 4x in just 1 year's time. And what is the reason for that? Like, what is going on? Why is this asset, this digital asset, digital gold, as we've been calling it for some time, why is this being bid up? What is going on? So if you go through our YouTube videos, you'll see that we have been tracking Bitcoin for a while. Ian and I, my incredible colleague, Ian Dyer and I, we talk about Bitcoin pretty much every single week on the Ian Cast. If you're subscribed to this channel, you know every Friday we give you an update. So if you go back and look at that, you'll see that there's been a series of steps that has led to this. And I believe that there is a series of steps that is eventually going to lead to even higher prices. However, let's track back a little bit and think about some of the steps that has led to this. So if you go back and look, last year, Bitcoin had something called a halvening. And go back and look at the videos where we talk about it. In other words, the people that mine Bitcoin, in other words, they use computers to work out a puzzle and their reward is Bitcoin. The reward got halved. It went from 12.5 Bitcoin to 6.25 Bitcoin. So the reward was halved. And these halvenings have a critical element to that, which is that they obviously reduce the amount of new Bitcoin that can come as supply. And that is one of the most critical elements of this. In other words, Bitcoin, when you think about it, it's the ultimate demand and supply asset. In other words, its supply is permanently fixed at 21 million coins forever. And right now it's estimated that about 18.5 million of these coins have actually been mined. And mined is the word that is used in crypto for maybe some people might think of being programmed or decoded, or nonetheless, mining is the word that's used when you actually go and earn Bitcoin by using computers to solve the puzzle, and that earns you Bitcoin. It's called mining. So 21 million Bitcoins that can ever be mined, about 18.5 mined. And then you have to do a few kind of hand waving calculations, because when Bitcoin started in 2009, most people really had no idea that it was going to become what it is today, which is an asset that is worth $800 billion, something in that range, $800 billion, right? So it started with a value of nearly nothing. And so it's estimated that perhaps as much as 4 million Bitcoin perhaps are gone, disappeared. Nobody knows where they are because some of the early Bitcoin was put onto hard drives and other computers, and people have lost the keys or have no idea where those computers are. They're unable to trace it. So the actual actual supply of Bitcoin is even more limited than you might think than 18.5 million. It may be as little as 14 or 14.5 million. So the supply of this, A, is capped permanently, and even of what is out there, they may be a lot less than what is actually computed. So let's say it's 14.5 or 15 million. That's a very small supply. Then there is the element of demand. In other words, when you look at Bitcoin, it is by its very nature a global asset. You can be in any country, whether it be in India, in Nigeria, in Argentina, in Cuba. And as long as you have this string of code, which represents your keys, you can own Bitcoin. It is just by its very nature global. And that makes its demand global. And that is exactly the way it has unfolded. Bitcoin has always been something that people around the world have gone about using without really anyone telling them how to do it. In other words, it's very easy. If I wanted to send you Bitcoin, I could just literally take my phone and send it to you, and it would be there in a few minutes, very, very, very quickly. And then you can then go use that, sell it, get your native currency, dollars, pounds, whatever, and go buy things with it. So it's a global asset, and the demand is global. So many places around the world they have no currency that can really hold any value. In places like Argentina or Cuba or Venezuela, or even where I came from in India, I can tell you that one of the things that was a huge challenge for my father when he was saving, and my father's dead now. However, I remember when he was alive, just struggling to think like, where is he going to leave his savings so that when he was older, he could use it? The world's currencies, for the most part, are junk. People complain about the US dollar. However, the truth is the US dollar is by and large the best currency of its kind that is available, which is why so many people store their money in US dollars. The vast majority of currencies around the world, they're used by governments essentially to fund their particular preferences. And the inflation level is so high that on average, I would say something in the 7 to 10 year range, all of their purchasing power is gone. All their purchasing power is gone. So there is a real need for a finite currency that can act as a store of value that governments around the world can do very little with. And Bitcoin, being global, has really captured the imagination of people, captured people's desire for an asset that they can actually use. And that belief and that desire and that conviction is what drives its value, which is global. And you can go to many places around the world where people are increasingly starting to save their money in Bitcoin. And they prefer that over the old version of a store of value that's permanent, which is gold. Because Bitcoin is more divisible, it goes out to 8 digits, I believe. And it is more portable. You can take it in a phone. You could take it in a small little chip if you had to. And it is also more finite than gold. In other words, the 21 million is the maximum. So people have accepted this as digital gold, I believe. And the demand is pouring in from around the world. And those same ideas that make people around the world want to store their value in Bitcoin is what is driving demand now from much larger investors, including now some very large companies. A company called MicroStrategy has put nearly $1 billion into Bitcoin. Tesla has now put $1.5 billion into Bitcoin. Square, another company in the United States, has put something like 150 million in. And I imagine that Tesla announcing that they've put this much money into Bitcoin is going to make pretty much every CEO, every CFO of every major company around the world think that perhaps they too should do it. So this comes to the second element of it, and Ian and I have been talking about this for a while. In other words, we have felt that there is going to be a broadening of demand from largely a retail and individual audience to a much bigger audience of companies And then I believe it's going to be countries. In other words, right now, Tesla is putting 1.5 billion in, and these are just companies putting in. However, I believe, and I made a prediction that at some point in time, I believe that some country around the world is going to give up on the idea that they can actually maintain a currency, issue a currency that can hold value, and will simply adopt Bitcoin as their official currency. And with that, they would have certain benefits. For example, there would be no longer any inflation. Also, people would actually trust the currency that's in place. Obviously, there's many benefits to being on a crypto standard. In other words, money moves very, very fast. I can send money by crypto like that. So that's a huge benefit. The cost of sending money from one place to another, which is prohibitive. Go and look at Western Union or MoneyGram. They will charge you an arm and a leg to send small amounts of money from the United States to almost any country in the world. You can do that with Bitcoin with really a tiny, tiny amount of money. And there's cheaper ways to do that with other forms of crypto. So the speed and efficiency and the cost of using crypto is much greater, which in turn creates even more demand for the currency. So I have said that my prediction is that I believe that Bitcoin is going to be at $250,000 sometime in the next 1 to 3 years. I believe it can go higher than that. However, I want to stay a little bit conservative with my prediction for it. And that is based on a number of scaling models that I've seen, which consider the things that I've mentioned, which is the fact that you've got this asset that is accepted around the world, that is being accepted as having value because of a role that it can play, because certain qualities that it's had. And then you've got, at this point, very early scale demand, which is just beginning to take off. And I believe that when you go from, right now, there's only 6 or 7 companies that have exposure to Bitcoin. What happens when that goes to 70 companies or 700 companies or 7,000 companies? And then when you have banks around the world that now start to accumulate it as part of their reserves, countries around the world that do that, how high can it go? Well, it could go a lot higher. That's for sure, at least in my opinion, my judgment, which is why we have been telling our folks across our publications, which is Bull Profits, my publisher, we've been telling people to buy Bitcoin for a while. We've had Bitcoin, exposure to Bitcoin through a stock tracker in the Profits Unlimited portfolio. If you're interested in Profits Unlimited, this is my flagship service. We focus on, I'll say, America 2.0 assets, fourth industrial revolution assets, which includes Bitcoin, Ethereum. So we have exposure to cryptocurrencies in our portfolio. If you're interested in that, profitsunlimited.com will take you to a page where you can subscribe. It goes for something like $48, $49 a year. It's in there. So I wanted to make this video because there's a lot of now people thinking like, hey, have I missed the boat? Can I still get in? Is it still worth buying? And I would tell you that in my opinion, our judgment, Bitcoin has a lot more to go. It can go way higher for all the reasons that I mentioned before, all the reasons associated with the limited supply, and then all of the reasons for why demand is just beginning to explode higher. So that's my video for this week, talking about Bitcoin, talking about the factors that really are causing Bitcoin to go up and why I believe it is going to continue to go up. I will say this though, Bitcoin has astonishing volatility. It can drop 20, 30% at any point in time. And that's because there's nobody managing the Bitcoin market. If somebody decides and they want to dump a lot of Bitcoin in, that price is going to be cheaper. So there is going to be volatility. Nonetheless, I still believe the upside can be huge. And if you're interested in our regular commentary on Bitcoin, on Ethereum, on the emerging role of cryptos, as well as America 2.0 Fourth Industrial Revolution, stocks and opportunities, check into profitsunlimited.com. All right, so that's my video for this week. Please don't forget to give us a thumbs up. Click on the bell to be notified when we post new videos. Subscribe to our channel and comment below. What do you think? Come year end, where is Bitcoin going to be? Until next week, this is Paul saying Bye.